All right. It is Thursday night. It is time to get with the newly rebranded Thursday night live stream. What's going on here, guys? What is going on with this new name?
How are you
Oh,
guys
you know.
feeling? What is the new name?
I'm so glad you asked, Ben. We have settled on a name. You might be aware of this as you were part of the conversations, but we are now calling the Thursday night show, instead of calling it the Thursday night live stream,
Right.
we're going to call it the Gabbing Gonks show. This is episode 1. I put episode 1 in the title.
Heck
This is the official beginning. That way we can see how many we do over time. It'll be kind of fun to track that a
All
little
right, so
bit.
does that make you top gunk and I'm the bottom one?
Top Gunk? That is
tier.
good. That is fantastic.
I am the
Welcome, guys.
Daimyo Gonk.
Okay, let's cut it. No, I'm just kidding. Restart. Luckily, I hit live this time. I mean, golly, the way it's been going recently, you just never know.
I know.
Well, guys, jokes aside, we are really excited about the new name. Folks are going to be really confused. I posted about it on the channel and I put it on Twitter. We'll see if fans start to pick it up as we go on. That's what we're going to call the stream. But let's get rolling here, guys. How was your week? Let's start with Ben down below. How's your day going, man? How's the week?
Not bad, just hanging in there. It kind of feels things are slowing down, right? After another Star Wars show is over, obviously there's a lot of excitement, people are talking, but at the same time, it's like, hey, man, what's next? And of course, they hit us with the poster. I'm sure we're going to talk about some stuff today, but it kind of leaves you lingering just a little bit, like, what's next with Star Wars? Kind of, you feel a little bit of a void. So we're kind of in the limbo. Of course, some other cinematic news came out today, so I've been kind of busy checking through the YouTube what's out there in the metaverse. How about you, Jimmy?
I am very thankful that the Book of Boba Fett is over, not because it was awful, but because I needed that time to just breathe, because for me, that episode drops at 2 a.m. I watch that and then I start my review directly after. It's a long night for me, but now I can finally focus on some of the comics that are coming out. I've got Trail of Shadows issue 5 to review and Crimson Reign issue 2 to review as well.
Nice, those are out.
Yeah,
I'm late to the game.
To Ben's point, there is an energy when new Star Wars is being released. Whether you're loving every minute of it, whether you're not, there's this kind of excitement in the air among the fandom. This general, coming togetherness every week to talk about the most recent episode, and I always miss that. Felt it when Bad Batch left, and we'll feel it now with Book of Boba Fett. Bad Batch lasted months as well, given the quantity of episodes. So there's a little void in our heart. But to Ben's point, it'll only be a couple months before we're back here again talking about probably the most anticipated Disney Star Wars project yet, I would say.
To date, I would say.
Yes.
Movies, everything included.
Definitely.
I would say so. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you can see that's the background to set the scene. As we're waiting for folks to stroll in, we are definitely going to talk Book of Boba Fett finale tonight. It's going to be a large portion of the opener here before we dive into the other news. But I do want to give you guys a chance why we're letting folks come in, why things are getting started. What are you reading? What are you playing? What are you doing in Star Wars right now? Jimmy, we'll pass it to you.
What am I not doing in Star Wars right now? I'm reading Midnight Horizon. I'm reading Vector Prime. I'm reading Lesser Evil. I'm kind of just going all around them as they come out. I'm trying to get through Midnight Horizon so we can get some stuff on that out, and so I can finish up with Vector Prime. I've got some comics that I finished. Trail of Shadows issue 5. That's the last issue in the miniseries. Very great series. If you haven't, I definitely recommend reading that. You do need to know a little bit, but I think you could read it on its own and still have a really good time with these awesome characters, Emmerich and Cyan. And I haven't even touched Crimson Reign issue 2 yet, but I'm excited to get into that because that story is awesome.
Nice.
Ben?
Guys, I'm a little bit procrastinating with my Star Wars stuff. I honestly don't feel oversaturated, but I wanted to break into something else. I'm on my D&D binge right now, so I got
there we go.
Nice.
Yes, sir. I'm on the first book of the second trilogy of Dragonlance called The War of the Twins. Mind-blowing good. This is just beyond good. This is not your average popular video game tie-in. Literally really good literature. So along with that, because it's not enough for Benjamin just to read, I'm also playing for the first time ever Baldur's Gate 2. And today, before this podcast, I got stuck in a dungeon. You know how you make that one save with a point of no return, and you got to restart the whole freaking dungeon? It had to happen.
I have level locked myself many a time, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, that is a lot of fun to dive into a new property, really, and I'm glad it's meeting expectations. Let me ask
Sometimes
you
you got to
before.
change lanes, you know, when
Yeah,
you feel a little bit exhausted, whether it's a Warhammer 40K, Mario Golf, like you name it, whatever it could be.
let me ask you this last question before we get into the Book of Boba Fett. You're playing Old Republic. You're playing Knights of the Old Republic. So you've got a lot of Star Wars games going on. How consistently are you still playing those games? Returning to them? Are you playing them once a week? Are you playing them for hours
I'm
on
trying
end?
to play at least release a video per game at least once a week. Sometimes when I really just don't feel doing that, I don't force myself to sit down and play because the video just doesn't come out right. You're just like, oh, I'm just
I get it.
pressing buttons, guys. Like it starts feeling routine.
I get it. 100%.
Play by the ear.
Well, I got to tell you, expansion comes out next week, right? In the 15th. So that looks really exciting.
Are you going to jump in?
I think I'm really debating about it right now. If time willing, I'd love to talk about it. I am repping the Batman hoodie today, by the way, because tickets went on sale. Pick them up. Batman shill here. But let's talk about Book of Boba Fett. Let's talk about the finale. There's a lot to discuss here.
Yes.
And as always, I'm going to kind of lead off with my thoughts with a little caveat. So this is a different kind of week for me because last night I recorded like a 18-minute almost overview of my thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, and frankly where I thought that it kind of underperformed. And so I will have kind of a longer focused conversation, you know, with my thoughts alone coming out probably Saturday afternoon. So I hope you guys check that out. If you like it, I hope you give me your feedback if you disagree. So you will be seeing my thoughts alone as opposed to only in this group setting. But I'll go ahead and lay the scene out anyway. The finale to me was fine at times and underwhelming in others. I felt like I watched it twice now. I did rewatch it last night. So I've seen it twice. I stayed up with Jimmy. I was up at 2 a.m. watching it that night. And I then watched it again the next day. Well, the next night around 8 p.m. So I watched it probably twice within 24 hours. And there are moments that are really fun. There are some really, hidden gems in here. But overall, I felt that this episode was on the weaker side of the show. And it unfortunately continued the trend that the Robert Rodriguez directed episodes just didn't land for me. And that's kind of unfortunate because, it was his, he had 3 episodes, and 3 of his episodes were the Boba Fett episodes. So of the 5 Boba Fett episodes we had, he had 3 of them. And I felt like the other ones were just superior. Episode 2 sticks
Josh,
out to
are
me.
you a fan of his in general?
I really can't say I had a strong feeling one way or the other. And I was thinking about this last night. I looked at his IMDb just to look, and I like some of his projects, others are missed. I mean, I didn't have some strong feelings about him before. I wasn't like, oh, this is something. But I leave this feeling like whoever's fault it was, whether it was the writing, whether it was the direction, the episodes he had felt the weakest to me. And it wasn't particularly close. And the gap was there. Unfortunately, I feel like the show as a whole was like, it did just enough, like in total. There were some really high points and some really mediocre points. And I come out of the show thinking like that was a fine package. I enjoyed my time in that world, but there were some things I wish they would have done different that I think would have made the show better. But that's just my opinion. I know some fans like it more. Before I get into specifics, let's go around the room. I kind of know how Jimmy felt because we talked about it and we watched it together. Jimmy, your finale feeling summarized before we get into the details.
Finale summarized, it was okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Kind of like Robert Rodriguez. I like his projects. I grew up with. Wait for my camera to unfreeze. I grew up with Spy Kids.
Yeah.
The Machete movies were hilarious, and Sin City he also did that. And I think the thing that he has in common with all of his projects that he is good at is just like action, because that's the one thing. Like everything that he's done, every action sequence he does, I think is great. I think everything that surrounds it is a little weak. So like. I agree with Josh. It had some high points and some low points. I'd give it about a 6 for the finale. Maybe a 5.
I think that's fair. The second time I watched it, and sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to jump in, but I wanted to say this before I forgot, because I brought up watching it twice. there is something that happens when you stay up till 2 a.m. and watch a show. And this happened to the three of us when we stayed up together to watch it, the first episode. You're kind of in the hype, you're with your friends, you're like pumped about it. And when the episode comes out even a little bit average, even a little bit slow, it's that much worse because you stayed up. You know, I had to go to work at 8 a.m. the next day. So I stayed up till 3 a.m. and I had to get up to go to work in 5 hours. It's okay. You're okay doing that because you're so excited. So when the episode feels so average, you kind of feel like, okay, like I guess that was worth the crap day I'm going to have tomorrow. When I came home and watched it again with my wife, I found that, you know, a lot of the more lighthearted moments I was able to kind of enjoy a little bit more because I already knew, like I was no longer in anticipation mode. I was in more of consume mode. Like, okay, I'm just going to consume this now. And I found that I was the lighter moments seemed to work a little better for me. There's still a couple things in here that I just feel like were so easily corrected. That's what really frustrates me the most. I feel like so many things in the show could have been easily adjusted to just make the entire package a lot more high quality. And so I left, you know, with that lackluster feeling. It's like, okay, well, Disney has had a problem with this on Disney Plus, in my opinion. Their finales are terrible. Like WandaVision's finale to me is so much weaker than all the other episodes. It's like, I don't know if that's a problem they're finding in their footing with this new kind of property. And I felt that way here as well. I felt episode 5, the show peaked. And I say this in my video that comes out later this week, and I'm going to say it right here, right now. I think episode 5 was one of my favorite pieces of like live Star Wars we've gotten in years. It's phenomenal. I've watched it about 4 times now. I like it more every time. It's a fantastic episode. And so when you hit that, to me, like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and then the next episode, it's really a great time as well. And then you like really drop down to a 6. It feels so jarring. It's like, yo, you just gave me episode 5. Like this feels so much worse than that. I think that's one of the issues I ran into. Sorry to cut you off there, Ben. Go ahead. We know.
No, I didn't even start. I was listening to what you guys have to say. It's interesting that you said together. You guys did Discord like we did the last time, but we saw the first episode together.
So you ready for this?
Yeah.
We set it up. We got on about an hour and a half early. We set it up to record our faces.
Right.
Jimmy was recording the episode so we could cut it together and do a reaction video.
Right.
And when we finished the episode, I said, "There's nothing worth uploading there," and we went to bed.
Yep.
From you.
From me,
both of us.
Really?
We just both were like, "There's nothing there."
Really? Wow.
There was like 1 or 2 moments. And
there's a handful of moments where we're like, we got a nice reaction, but I was like, out of this entire, it was like what, like 53 minutes?
Yeah, 61 minutes.
I was like, I could cut together a 3-minute video.
I hope you guys didn't feel bad.
No,
it just was. That's how lackluster it was. Is my point.
So I was going to be up watching it regardless, so I don't feel like anything was wasted from it. It was unfortunate.
Oh, I like hanging out with my friends and watching Star Wars. So I would have done it with Jimmy and you, Ben, like we did for the opening, and we all got together.
Right.
I like doing that with you guys. So you know, I didn't feel like it was a waste, but that speaks volumes to me. That at the end of an episode with all the hype, I didn't even feel like, hey, it's worth putting the video out because, you know, there's one thing I think the finale does really well that we'll talk about in a second, but I you know, that's when we get into the specifics more of. So,
right.
Cool.
All right, Ben, rip into it.
Oh, it's my turn, right?
Rip into it. Get in there.
Yeah, I'm the bottom gonk. Hi guys. I don't even know what like sound gonks make, like when it hits its history. Like, okay, my turn. We should make like sounds.
Oh, we definitely should.
Gotta get a soundboard going.
Like, just think the whole thing through. But I wasn't a huge fan of Mandalorian, and it was a decent watch for me. I don't think I'll be coming back to rewatching it anytime soon. And knowing the showrunners behind the Book of Boba Fett, I'll be honest with you guys. Like in this particular episode, I always try to be playful and I like exaggerate. I get too emotional, right? Because we try to have fun on the podcast.
Having fun, yeah.
Today, I'll be not emotional, just raw honesty. Nothing being sugar-coated, nothing just being amping it up, just being honest. I had zero excitement for this show. Like, okay, you know, Book of Boba, Jon Favreau, all right. I guess it's something that jives with the fans. Let me, like you said, consume it. Let me see where it's going. And this last episode represents to me how I feel about Favreau's direction of Star Wars in general. It's messy. It's all over the place. It has a handful of really, really strong concepts that are unfortunately never executed right. they're never taken to a point where like you're looking at something it's a solid piece of entertainment. We're like, wow. Because to me, as we all would agree, episode 5 of this particular show was the strong point. I
It's
don't
really
judge
good.
the show on the strength of one episode. Yes, the episode is strong, but how about the rest of the show? You're advertising to me the Book of Boba Fett gig, right? And when people start making memes about, hey, where's Boba Fett? I think he's gonna show up playfully.
He's gonna cameo, yeah.
Right, and as a cameo in the next episode, it's problematic. I think the problem is not the lack of budget. I don't think the problem is the lack of talent. I think Jon Favreau is a capable guy. Like, again, I'm saying it against my gut feeling of saying, like, I predominantly dislike his stuff. I think he's talented. I thought Iron Man 1 was one of the best Marvel movies. To this day, it is. It's such a perfect character origin story that I really enjoyed it. But really here, it feels like the brainstorming ideas, the pre-production, the writing down and planning out the story was taken to a certain level. It just dropped. Like, okay, I think we agree. We trust each other enough. I trust Robert Rodriguez. I trust, this director here. I trust this cameraman over there. I think we got this. Let's start rolling the cameras. Let's figure this thing out, right? Jackie Chan is known to be developing a lot of visual treats, visual stuff in his movies on the fly, in the studio, on the set. Here, it sort of feels this way, and it doesn't carry the story anywhere. It's, we spoke about this in our previous live streams. I said, if you would have focused on a specific format where you allow the room for different characters to pop in and out, then we understand that, because that's the beat you set up. We go quickly. We go run through the characters, and then Boba Fett is kind of like Nick Fury unites everyone. Or the other route they could have gone is persisted with the Tusken Raider story and really flesh it out. For me, I have the least amount of fun and excitement when a story is not emotionally arousing. When what I'm looking at is all treats, it's all visual fireworks, no matter how much finesse is there. Because in my review of this episode, also, I give nods to beautiful visual wizardry. It's undeniable. Stuff looks good in it. The Megatron, droidecas, the Rancor look fabulous.
Really good CGI on them.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
great
TV,
great production, amazing artistry. But as somebody mentioned today, as I was watching a reaction to early Lord of the Rings footage, people are saying you have the most expensive show in the history of filmmaking in production right now, and it would completely kill it is 2 lines of misread dialogue. And it's so on the money, because when you have something, especially a project which is so huge and there's so much of excitement and responsibility on it because of the legacy of, let's say, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, because the production is so huge, it amplifies all the faults and all the mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what this particular episode revealed. Sorry, guys, for the long-winded kind of explanation, but it reveals to me a set of issues with this show and also with Mandalorian.
I think so. I will respond to what you said and then lead into some pros and cons. One thing I will say, I think Mandalorian as a show did a better job of feeling cohesive, to its credit. As someone who's not a huge fan of season 1, or I when season 1 came out, I wasn't a giant Mandalorian fan. I really enjoyed season 2. I thought it really nailed a lot of the fun aspects really well, better than season 1. But I feel like the design of the show, both season 1 and season 2, were better. It was a better design show. Although there was some fetch questy stuff that really I constantly hate having to shift locations. I did enjoy that there was a core group of characters who got a lot of attention. And so I felt like Book of Boba Fett just had in my video that comes out this weekend, it's like 18 minutes. I really hope you guys watch all of it because I talk a lot in there. But one of the first things I call out is I think the construction and design of the show was just flawed. And I think that set it up for failure. And there was like 100 things they could have done. They could have, as I talked about, done something silly and little, like rename the show and had a different type of show. Like, well, we're going to just bounce around all the Boba Fett, all the bounty hunters in this era. So we'll have a Bosk episode and, you could have done something like that. And it wouldn't have felt as jarring. I think it felt so jarring because they took 4 episodes to grow the character, dropped them for 2. Those 2 episodes were better than any of the 4 before, and then came back at 6 and ended back on a low note. It's just very weird construction to me. Let's talk about some things that really I liked in the finale, because there's one thing in particular, and I'll be really curious to hear Jimmy and Ben's thoughts on this, and Chad as well. I thought Cad Bane in the finale, I'm so mad that they introduced him so late in the game, because I thought in the finale he was really good. I thought Cad Bane was the best part of the episode. I think they could have used him more. I think they kind of used him as a prop a little bit, but from a performance and a look perspective, a dialogue, like talk about translating an animated character to live action perfectly. I think he was just phenomenal. I think absolute nailed the visuals, nailed the voice, nailed the presence. I made a joke about this, but I left the show being like, man, Cad Bane is way cooler than I thought he was. In the Clone Wars and Bad Batch, I've seen him, but like seeing his presence, how intimidating he was, how effective and efficient he was. I'm like, man, I love Cad Bane. I put on Twitter today, I want the Cad Bane hot toy when they make the live action version, because I thought he was phenomenal in yesterday's episode. And I felt so the second time watching it, he's just so imposing, so a great use of practical effects. I really liked Cad Bane in this episode. I thought he was phenomenal. That really stuck out to me in this episode more than anything else. What did you guys think of Cad Bane? I'm not talking about how they should have used him. He should have been introduced much earlier in the show to develop these conversations with Boba, so the end was very satisfying, as opposed to pulling him in at the very end and referencing things that we never saw on screen as like their history and why their tension should matter. That's not an effective use of the character. But from a design and from an execution perspective of his voice and talent, I think that was phenomenal.
Presentation.
Yes, I think that was phenomenal.
I will say the one thing that people need to just research, because they don't. A lot of people on Twitter were going on about how Cad Bane sounds weird, and they're like, I don't like the person voicing him. The voice of Cad Bane is the voice actor from the Clone Wars. It's the same
perfect.
guy.
Yeah, I thought
obviously there's a stand-in. They have an actor who's physically there,
right?
But the voice actor from Clone Wars is still reading the lines, and they're just syncing it up. So I don't know what you mean. He sounds weird, probably because he's like 70 by this point, but it's the same guy.
So you like?
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with Josh's point. Like, if you were going to bring him in, I think it would have been brought in earlier. I don't think he should have had the ending that he had in the finale. I think it would have been a better setup for if they wanted to do a season 2 based on like Boba and Cad going against each other. That would have been a good thing to set up. But
his death is fine if that felt like a fitting conclusion to the confrontation. The reason his death doesn't really work is just because he only just got introduced to the show like 30 minutes of screen time earlier, and you're like, like that was here's how I would put it. The most interesting part of the episode to me, like the thing I would want to come back for, would be Cad Bane, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a weird feeling for me, where I'm like, man, the most exciting thing you showed me this episode, you also ended in the same episode. So now I'm kind of stuck here. I don't know. But Ben, come in here. What do you think?
So my friend William, he's a huge Star Wars fan of mine. I always bounce my ideas off of him before I met you guys. He thinks he's alive. He said, I hear a sound. Something is going on there. He's alive. In terms of his look, it's just a tiny bit of an adjustment. Like, obviously, the profile of the head, obviously, the profile of the physique. I can sympathize with people who grew up on Clone Wars. Like, your generation is prequels, right? My generation is originals. Some kids grew up with the Clone Wars and staring at that particular face mold, right? My father just recently saw a snippet of the Clone Wars show on television. He's like, hold on a second. Is that a Star Wars puppet animation? I'm like, no, that's not puppets, Dad. That's CGI. And the reason I'm saying that, the sculpt is so recognizable and the art direction is so recognizable that a lot of fans grew up with those specific proportions. So when they look at something which doesn't correspond to precisely what they were looking for, I understand some criticism. So just with a little bit of adjustment, yes, he looks right, he sounds right. Another testament to that is my younger brother, who has no idea who Cad Bane is. He's like, hey, Ben, that cowboy character that you were talking about that supposedly might show up in the show, he was badass, man. Like, I really enjoyed him. Right? So a person coming in with that kind of context, he also enjoyed it. But I didn't like how they used him in the show overall.
Agreed. I want to preface that. I agreed. I just like the design and the voice acting. I thought he had a really good presence on screen.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Very strong presence. His scenes, every single scene that he's in, it's good in a sense that a cutout CGI from a video game is good. right? It's
Yeah.
a good piece of scenery,
It
like
is.
high quality CGI, but it needs that continuation within the game to contextualize it.
And I think they did just the right amount of, he still had it. He was still the
Yes.
sharpest gun. Like, he wasn't nerfed. He wasn't getting, I mean,
Yes.
he was still a threat, and he felt threatening. And I
I
really
was
liked
not
that.
surprised one bit when in that duel, Boba Fett was the one to drop.
Yeah.
What did surprise me and honestly irked me a little bit is that he went down. Because again, it's my bias, it's my perspective. I'm not asking anybody to agree with me. I've always thought that Boba Fett is a very cardboard character. He's the Batman shtick, a guy who everybody fears and he can defeat everybody, nobody can touch him. Beskar armor, whatever. Cad Bane is a much more compelling character. And even in this post New Jedi Order context, there's a lot more legacy and story to him. And the way that it was executed, it's, guys, don't you learn from Phantom Menace? You don't just scream high ground in the Revenge of the Sith, but in the first episode, you have the same exact scenario, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi doing the crazy flip and just wins. It just looks cheap. It diminishes the moment. And same happens here. Boba Fett is literally on his ass. He's standing there sniffing dust. And Cad Bane, I honestly believe for a second, hey, he's going to kill Boba Fett. Like, is this passing on the torch to Din Djarin? What's going on here? And then this stupid little twist, and he is dead just to put the closure on it. And I didn't feel that was the right way to treat this character in this instance.
He had the classic villain death, the gloating. It's the classic, I'm going to teach you one less. I mean, that line is very cliche, which is like, look out. What I, for me, as a whole, as a whole different perspective on this, I'd like to say as well, as someone who was actually not a big Cad Bane fan, like I thought he was fine in the Clone Wars. I liked his character. I mean, he was cool, that he was an actual challenge to the Jedi. And not that you felt he was ever going to win, but he was a real pain, right? He often, would find himself with the upper hand against even Kenobi and others. So I really enjoyed his character, but never was in love with it. I loved, it was cool to see him in the Bad Batch, but I never really loved him. I really felt like in this short time we saw him, to me, like, sometimes you see something in live action and you understand the connection more. I know it sounds silly because I love animation, but when I saw the character, how freaky he looked, how kind of deep the voice was, I was like, okay, I could see why he was an intimidating kind of force, this presence in the galaxy. Like, it made me appreciate that so much more. I'm like, okay, I could see why this guy was one of the most feared bounty hunters at the time. Like, he's earned that reputation. And I thought it was kind of cool to really come full circle on that. That really stuck out to me as a phenomenal. I think the score they used when he was on screen was great. I think some of the shots, very Old West, but it worked. I did not like how he kind of they had this sort of scene design for him where he would walk down the street, face off, walk around the other corner, and then a battle would break out. And then he'd kind of come again. Like, he was only allowed to have one-on-ones. Did you notice that about the character? Like, they only used him in a one-on-one. So he comes out, tries to negotiate, tries to bait Boba Fett so he can just kill him. He doesn't take the bait, so he kind of backs off. They bring in the reinforcements. Okay, next time, the big wars break out in the cities, and he's nowhere to be found. Oh, he comes in for a 1v1. Like, they only use him in a 1v1. I'm like, why is he not picking off these? Like, it's a little complaint, but it's silly to me. Like, he's the best thing they have. Why are they paying him? What is he doing?
Him for the duel. That's actually another aspect of storytelling where you see a filmmaker not thinking of the story and structure overall. He's plugging in moments into it. Like, I think then we need a little moment over here.
Yeah, like,
that's not how you build momentum. And it shows in this episode.
You put him in the show earlier. You can see this tension build between the characters. It can lead to this final duel, right? The duel we know is coming, but there's more context to it. It just felt like, hey, I'm here. We're going to duel. I've known you a long time, Boba. And I'm not even going to get into the fact that all of the insults Cad Bane, all the baiting he tries to do, like, they bring up, I'm trying to think of the way to word this. They introduce plot points that are interesting, but the show didn't explore. So he says things like, why are you trying to go straight? And I'm like, yeah, that is a good question, because the show to me explained very well. I talk about this in my video coming out later this week. The show to me, I was totally in on the Tusken family. I get why he liked the Tuskens. I get why he'd be heartbroken by that. I'm totally in. I do not understand still why he cared about the town. In this episode, several times, he says things like, these are my people. And I'm like, well, I wish they would have shown that. And I wish they would have also shown his struggles of, I'm trying to turn the corner and be this better man, but I keep resorting to violence. I keep resorting to fear. I have to make that turn. And Cad Bane would be like, oh, you're trying to be a good guy. He's planting doubt in Boba Fett. You're just like your father, a killer. But instead he's just like, hey, you're not a good guy. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, has he struggled with that this season? Boba never struggled to me with that inner struggle of, am I a good guy or am I just a killer? If he would have talked
show
about
don't
that,
tell rule. Don't tell me what these characters are thinking. Show me.
And you get, everyone here knows I'm overall a very positive Star Wars guy. So I hate to sound so negative, but to me, this is like a little thing. Like, if you want, it seemed like Cad Bane's final dialogue was for a different first 4 episodes where Boba struggled, where he found himself resorting to violence, and Fennec's trying to say, Boba, what are you doing? Like, you got to earn the respect of the townspeople if you want to be better. And Boba's like, oh, you're right. I default to this violent past, but I got to overcome it. But he never had that sort of strife. So when Cad Bane comes in and is like, what's your angle? Why are you trying to be straight? And he's like, these people, they're my people. It's like, no, like, I bought his explanation in episode 4. In episode 4, he literally is like, yo, these crime lords are idiots. They waste lives. They're cruel. I could do it better, save life, and I do a better job. I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe that. It had nothing to do with like, I'm trying to be a better man. I've seen the errors of my way. I don't want to live this legacy that I've had, grown up in violence, raised in violence. And I hate that everyone just sees me as this brute killer. I need to turn the corner. No, that's not what he said. He didn't say anything about that. So why is Cad Bane trying to bait him with like, yeah, you tried to go straight. You can't go straight. It's like, was he trying to go straight? I didn't think that's what he was trying to do. I don't know. Jimmy, come in here. I'm just talking away. What about Cad Bane? What am I crazy?
Yes and no. I think, there's a lot of things about it. It's like, I think most of how I took it is like all the stuff that Cad Bane is saying, he's literally just poking at Boba. He wants him to act bad. I think after he hooks up with the Pikes, the Pikes are giving him all the information he needs on the current state of Boba Fett. He knows what he's doing. He's been told this stuff behind the scenes. So now he's showing up like, so you think it's literally like, Batman 89 when Bruce goes up to Jack and he's like, I know who you are. And he's talking to the Joker. It's the same. He's like, I know who you really are, Boba. This isn't you. Come on. Don't fool these people like you're fooling me right now. And he was really just trying to get a rise out of him. And that's all it is. And I think that's what's good about the way his death was portrayed, even though I don't like that he was killed off. But it was, he kept getting outdrawn by Cad Bane because Cad Bane was always going to be better. The original Boba could not beat Cad Bane. Using the gaffy stick to win, for me, is a symbol of, the new Boba is the one thing that is going to be topped. He is the one that can win this fight, which is why I think that played out the way it did. I find it a little poetic. That's what I was enjoying about it.
They were definitely going for that. I agree.
But I think it is weird. This whole fight is breaking out and Cad Bane just like shows up when everything's done. He's like, cool, you beat wave 1. Now it's time for a boss fight.
Yeah. Right. I just didn't like that construct. And I'm with you, Jimmy. I think they were definitely going for that. And I can give the showrunner that they had a vision there of, hey, as Cad Bane is pointing the gun at him and he says, hey, only look out for yourself. Everything else is mercy. What saves him but the Tusken stick, right? The community he forged was the one that saved his life, right? I appreciate.
Yeah, so that. I like, and and I can sit here and I can see all this stuff and I can talk about it all day about the visions they were trying to have, but it fell flat in a lot of cases. The one thing, like even the whole fight throughout the town, while I don't think it was that big of a problem. I mean, sure, there might have been some pacing issues, but, from the beginning, this show is kind of like that whole mafia underground story. So at the end of those movies, when like there's a big fight, it's not like an all-out war of the masses on both sides. It's a war between families. So there's only like 20 to 30 people involved, and then the bystanders that are just around to see it. So this fight felt very realistic for the type of show they were trying to make. It's just the fact that if you're not really looking at it in hard detail, making in-depth reviews, you're not going to pick up all these points. And in some cases, this stuff should be spoon-fed to you so it's understood by the broader audience that doesn't, isn't a diehard fan like a lot of us. So for me, it's like I see it in a different light, but I can also see all of the problems that come with it because like you have to pick the lock yourself. You have to have all of these years of knowledge of previous movies and previous shows for when you get to a certain point, when you see this character, you're like, I know why I should be scared of him versus who's this guy?
he makes me. I think what the show did a little too much is they made me fill in the gaps for myself, and I don't need things spoon fed to me, but I have to make assumptions to humor the director. Well, I can explain away like this. Jimmy, you talked about something I want. I think it's a good transition for us, so we'll pull Ben in here. I found the problem for me with the final fight here was not so much the quantity. I don't feel like, and this reeks of episode 3 to me with the chase. For some reason, and I might not be able to put the correct words to it, I don't think Robert Rodriguez did a great job of putting intensity into his confrontations. That speed, to me, they felt very much like slow and not really that threatening. I never felt like there was a lot going on, and I don't need the show to be phenomenal action, but as they're running through the streets, it just kind of felt, I don't know, it just didn't land for me as well as I'd wanted to. I think hiding behind the wall as well was just really weird. It was weird. I mean, this droid is literally OP. This thing is. I'm telling you what, if the Separatists had this, the Clone Wars would have been one for them hard. This thing was incredible, and it kind of just is impeded by a wall that like comes up to its knee. It just looks weird. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm saying. It just feels weird to me. Like, I understand that we have to suspend our disbelief in all Star Wars, in all action. So I will lay off the gas a little bit here, but to me, I never felt the intensity in some of these things I wanted to when it came to the action. I don't know. Ben, come on.
I wanted to plug in here as well. Specifically when it comes to action. You know how like sometimes a friend shows you like a YouTube video on their smartphone, like, hey, Jimmy, come over here, like check this out. This is cool, right? Like, for example, like a few years back, you guys remember that anime style TIE fighter?
Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah.
Right. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's eye candy. It's animators work
really
their
cool,
ass
yeah.
off. They're not trying to show you a story. They're trying to show you something cool to kind of grab your attention, and you understand the purpose of it.
Yep.
You can't do that with action within a show where you're trying to tell a story. I'm not saying you need Shakespearean level of writing. I'm not saying every show needs to be Godfather level of like Sopranos level of storytelling. But if you're giving me something visual without the emotional component, that the most diehard action fans become tired. And I think on two fronts, this entire battle sequence, didn't show anything innovative or interesting in terms of action. That little one-eye patch kid doing the little turn, that famous Robert Rodriguez turn. Get the hell out of here, man. This was popular 20 years ago. Like, what's on the table today? What's on the menu? The competition for Disney is huge right now between Netflix, Amazon, all these other streaming services, HBO. Get out of town, dude. How can you? It's like, a circus comes to town, right? Why should I pay? Why should I go in? Do you have something new? Do you have a lion with two heads? Like, what's going on here? This is 2022. And when it comes to effective action, I don't know if you guys ever checked out this. I enjoy checking out Star Wars short films because it's like short form writing, short story, where every writer says in a novel, your job is a lot easier because you have a lot of leeway between chapters to kind of like slow down the pace, mess up a little bit, get a little lazy, but then restore the pacing and get the story back on track. Short story reveals raw talent. Not a single comma, not a single word can be wasted. And that's why I enjoy watching short stories. And the reason I'm bringing it into this last episode discussion, about 6 years ago, there's this short film. It's about 7 minutes long. It's called Kara, Kara. Have you guys seen it?
I have not.
I think I know the name.
It's my all-time favorite Star Wars fan-made film. It blew my mind. It doesn't have the production values that Star Wars Theory has with his Darth Vader thing. It's not like Darth Maul one, which is like lavish, extravagant choreography, which is like people went nuts over. Kara is expertly directed. In 7 short minutes, he shows you 3 characters on screen, which I immediately was drawn to. Now, they're rolling the credits 7 minutes after. I'm like, hold on a second, this is over? Who is this girl? Why is she reacting in such a way? What's the drama here? I believed the tears that this girl has in this particular short.
Kind of like Star Wars
Visions.
I believe.
I'm sorry?
Kind of like Star Wars Visions.
Yeah. Where you're going and checking this out episode by episode, and they're not connected. Yet there is something in this one single episode where like, hey man, how come the duel is over? Is like season 2 going to show us the next episode? You salivate for more, like you're hungry. That's what action is supposed to do. And Robert Rodriguez, to me, he's fell off that from Dusk to Dawn pedestal a long time ago. He's boring to me. He doesn't show anything that I'm interested about. He's not there to innovate anymore. He's not hungry. He's not an innovator that him and Quentin Tarantino were 20 years ago. He's boring. Yes, Sin City is freaking awesome, but this is not the same case. It doesn't have that spark or magic anymore.
I do wonder sometimes with you do wonder about the creative process in these shows. And I say this to lead off my 17-minute conversation, and I'll repeat it here. I hope folks didn't drop it and miss this. I never want to disrespect these the work these teams are putting in, from the actors to the writers. Like, you'll see this narrative online now. It's so easy to be like, these guys suck. Rian Johnson sucks. J.J. Abrams they're terrible. They're like, hey, I believe in my heart that these guys are putting in their work. They're doing the best they can. I think they make different choices than I would, and I think they make some mistakes. But I never want to get, we on this channel don't do that. It's one thing to be like, hey, I don't think that he's got the eye for it anymore. It doesn't mean he didn't try. It doesn't mean his heart wasn't in it. I just don't think it landed for me.
It doesn't mean we're going to boycott,
right?
Rodriguez. But I think at the same time, there comes a time where you don't need to sound apologetic and just say how you personally feel about things and say like, hey, I find this boring. And if you're trying to misread what I'm saying, like, for example, I just did a video reaction on my brother's channel with heavy metal, and we're saying the same thing. Like, look, just because we're saying we don't like it, we personally don't think it's good, it doesn't mean we're going to crucify the maker, right?
Yep.
You got to give credit for the work put in. That in their hearts of hearts, they were trying to do their best.
Exactly. And I know we don't do this here, and I know most of my chat doesn't, but there's just this new internet phenomenon to be like, oh, this guy, I didn't like what he did. Now I hate him and everything he's ever done. And I'm, going to spam his comments. Right. We see it with Rian Johnson and stuff. Someone here doesn't, I really like Knives Out, which he did, but I really didn't like, The Last Jedi as much as the folks here. I like to separate the intensity, which again, I'm not speaking to us here. I'm just making that comment out here.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating.
I can totally agree though with Ben's point about like the short stories and the fan films, because like Bucketheads, that's my favorite fan film. It is so good.
That's
and
awesome.
when it ended, I was like, I need more. And I know they're like trying to do more of that, so like I'm really excited for it. But the finale ended, and I was like,
yeah. Okay. And that was Jimmy's real reaction. I was there. Hey Nick, I'm glad you're listening to us on the way home.
Don't look at the video. World anymore.
Yeah, don't look at the video. Drive safe, but you can listen to us in the background. Jimmy's is dead on, and let's kind of wrap out this topic because we're going to talk about Kenobi. We got to talk about Kenobi.
Definitely.
Are we going to get another season of Book of Boba Fett? I felt like at the end, this is my personal read, I feel like we will, but it didn't feel like they really set anything up that interesting. I said this to my wife, maybe even to you, Jimmy. I was like, they have to do something to really entice me back in to be excited about a second season. I'll watch it. And I'll react to it. And I look, when it's a week away from the show, a couple months away from the show, I'll be happy. It's more Star Wars, like Ben led the show off with. It's fun to have that energy in. It's fun to be with them. But to me, they did not really set up anything to where I feel like I really am excited to return to that world. It's kind of like, well, I'm pretty excited for Mando season 3 because 5 and 6 were really darn good. Guys, I'm telling you, I don't want to sound like a fanboy, like bro
it's
Star Wars fan.
It's unfortunate to us. We want to be excited.
No, I don't want to sound like a bro Star Wars fan, but like episode 5, when they're talking about Mandalore and you're seeing these gorgeous visuals, I'm like, please go back to Mandalore, restore Mandalore, do something Mandalore. Like, we haven't seen that. We don't know where that was in the sequel trilogy era. Like, we don't know what happened there. Like, it's totally detached, and you've given us a portal. You've given us Bo-Katan, you've given us the Darksaber, you've given us the armor, you've given us Din Djarin. Like, go there with the show, do something bold, do something like exciting and high stakes. Like, I want to see that. We didn't really talk about it because I feel like we're going to go another hour if we do. But one thing that I really didn't like is, Grogu's back already. And I'm very sad that we don't get to see Mando kind of be his own character for at least a small period of time. He lasted one episode without Grogu. Not that I don't love their dynamic, but, and I would want to see them reunited again. But it's like, they had just given that character a new I'm coming on here saying, hey, I think they're going a different direction with season 3. I think we're going to see a lot more of a Din Djarin focused story where he's doing things for his heritage and his people. And it's going to be a whole, what does this character do now? He had this purpose the last couple episodes. What does he do next? And it's like, okay, the old crew's back together one episode later. And I'm like, dang it. Like, I'm happy they're back. He's cute and great. And I loved Din and Grogu's chemistry. They're a lot of fun on screen. But it's like, come on, it lasted one episode. It was one episode.
Can I quickly interject, Jock? Do you guys remember J.J. Abrams' first remake of the Star Trek film? Where he goes the same... Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Into the Darkness Part 2, where he goes
with Khan?
and flips the famous scene with Khan. He kills off Spock instead of Jim Kirk. And when everybody felt it was so exciting, he waves the candy right back in your face and revives him in the same movie. And I felt it was such a huge mistake, particularly because he executed the scene so well. Don't end up on a happy conclusion and a happy note right away. When you have such a powerful setup, leave us hungry for more.
And he takes that mask off. He breaks all of his tradition. He's crying. It's his emotional moment. And then I know it's been a year, but it's only every single episode since episode 1 has had, even episode 5 had Grogu in it. Now they didn't interact, which I thought was also powerful. I thought it was kind of cool to see him I'm kind of struggling here. And it's like, hey, no, time's passed. I was like, oh, that's really great. And then they're like, nah, he's back. And I'm like, dang it. And you know what it reminds me of too? Civil War. Captain America Civil War. At the end, the movie ends with a really emotional note. Cap and Winter Soldier and, Bucky and Tony all go at it. It's a really great fight scene in a small corridor. I felt the setup for it was bad because it was so obvious what Baron Zemo was doing. I don't know why but anyway, they start fighting. It's a good scene. It's an emotional scene. At the end, after they, tag team beat down Iron Man, they're walking out injured. And he's like, that's not your shield. That's my father's shield. He's really pouring his heart out and he drops the shield and the movie fades out. It fades to white. And I thought they were going to go to credits and I was going to be like, oh, what a heartbreaking way to end it. And what do? They pull it right back in. They make a Tony Stank joke. Then he gets a cell phone call from Cap. And he's like, hey, if you ever need me, I'll be there. And I'm like, no, let me hurt. See, Endgame knew that. Infinity War knew this. This is why Infinity War is one of my favorite Marvel movies. They knew that they're all coming back. No, we all knew they weren't dead, but they at least let the audience hurt for a year. Sometimes let us hurt. Yeah, and I just didn't feel like they let this breathe long enough. Just one thing that stuck out before this episode. What did you think, Jimmy? Were you happy to see Grogu back? I wanted to see something different for The Mandalorian. Now I don't know what the show's going to be.
Josh is on a tangent.
I am.
It's okay, buddy.
We like to be on the tangent. What's wrong with being? We're living on the edge, man.
It's the long form content. We just get to.
Jimmy, if you're not excited enough in your positive or negative discussions, you can't be a part of this Gonks.
Yeah, if you're not burning your background,
you got to
burn
not burning
something. Come on,
get it on, man.
If you're not drinking straight coffee in your eye, then you're not ready.
Try again.
That was one thing. Yeah, that was just one thing that stuck out to me as well from the episode.
I thought. Anyway, so am I excited for a season 2? First off, will there be a season 2? Probably. It's Marvel.
Yeah, I think so.
Not Marvel. It's Disney. Yeah, they got the money for it. Probably. Yeah. Will I see it? Yeah. I started rewatching it today with my girlfriend. She hasn't seen it, so we watched the first 2 episodes today, and she is really loving it. She's loving everything with the Tuskens and all that.
She doesn't have the spoilers. She doesn't know the ending.
She knows one spoiler, and she knows that Luke and Grogu show up. That's all she knows.
Okay.
Yeah, she's very detached from it. She's really trying to not spoil anything. But we're watching it again, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, I really do enjoy this show. I like, while we do have main characters such as Boba and even Luke shows up, the show is on its own does a really good job of detaching itself from the Skywalker saga. It's not even in a way it's obviously Luke shows up, but Boba never mentions fighting Han Solo and all that. And he doesn't see Black.
Han didn't come back.
He doesn't see Black Chrysanthemum and then go up to Fennec Shand and be like, let me tell you about Chewbacca for a minute. It's just kind of its own thing. And I think the end credit scene, I actually think it was actually exciting because I love Cobb Vanth. I think he's just a great character because Timothy Oliphant does a great job of bringing that character to life. Yeah. And I'm such a fan after reading Cobb Vanth in the Aftermath trilogy, now seeing him on screen, I just think that's awesome. We're finally getting characters that were strictly in novels brought onto screen. I just think that's really cool. And I think if season 2 continues, I would love to see the conversation between Boba and Cobb. You had my armor. What's up with that? Let's talk about this. But I think that dynamic, if the show continues and the focus is Boba, but with the addition of Cobb Vanth, you'd get much more character and a lot more of range, because it is very stagnant and very kind of, cardboard the whole way through. He's just like, I'm Boba Fett. And everyone's like, okay, and what do you want me to do about it? So, you add him, you've got Fennec, who's like, she's literally that gif of the girl that holds up that sign that says, want me to kill him? That is Fennec. But then you get a little bit of comic relief with a lot of seriousness and a lot of caring that is Cobb Vanth. That would lead you to a pretty nice season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett and Friends.
I think to your point, you said you're rewatching the show. Episode 2 especially is really good. It's been a long time. Been a long time since we've watched it. It's been 5 weeks.
Episode 2 off.
Book of Boba Fett.
Oh,
with the train, with the Tuskens, the train, the vision.
Right,
it's a really good
Yeah.
episode. So I think it's been so long. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. You see the finale and you forget what came so
I think
early.
it was my favorite episode overall.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And to your point, Jimmy, I think if we get a second season, I think it'll be kind of a different dynamic. They might not even call it Book of Boba Fett. They might call it
And I mean, Star Wars does, Marvel is really good about doing this. And I think Star Wars might be trying to do the same thing, which maybe not. They'll realize early on it doesn't work. I would believe that there are so many holes in the Book of Boba Fett because other stuff is supposed to be plugged into it from other shows.
Yeah.
Is that a smart idea? No. Is it an idea? Yes, it is. Ultimately, because I know we need to move on from this, I think the one last thing I want to say is, obviously, Book of Boba Fett fell short from a majority. I think a lot of fans are not very happy with the show. Who's going to get blamed for it? Filoni, Favreau, or Kathleen? They're going to ignore the director, I think. Everyone's going to ignore that. If it were Rian Johnson, different story. They're going to be like, Robert Rodriguez, nah, you're fine. Kathleen, you ruined Star Wars again.
Right.
Because, they're all like, Favreau and Filoni are saving us with The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch. And now another product of Filoni and Favreau comes out and it's not good.
Yeah,
it's
going to go straight to it's Kathleen's fault.
Yeah, we're here tonight.
Someone's going to clip this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. We're kind of here tonight, venting about the finale, talking about it. At the end of the day, I thought the show was fine to open up with it. It was fine. I think it could have been better. And obviously, I think there was just some missed opportunity here. And that's a bummer because there were some gems in here. Episode 2, we just talked about. Episode 5. Some moments throughout that were really good, but overall it falls flat. And I think it's just a reminder that when you watch something like The Last Jedi and people say it's the worst thing ever, it from a quality perspective is actually better than a lot of things that people are more tolerant of. I'm not a Last Jedi fan, but I think that's a better constructed movie than some of these other products that kind of slip through.
You can almost feel that tension when fans get really, really emotional about The Last Jedi. You could almost feel a tangible feeling where they're not talking, even discussing the quality of the film, the despicable transgression that their character wasn't treated to their expectations. I think that's the biggest problem.
And I think one of the things that I look at, especially because a lot of times after season 1 of The Mandalorian, everyone was really excited for what Star Wars was doing. And a lot of the podcast and a lot of the people that I listen to and I trust their opinion, they're all like, I really think that the next move for Star Wars is to go with TV, keep doing these episodes and these shows, not just keep sticking with movies, because that was originally what the idea for Star Wars was. There was that show that was being planned. I'm at the point now where I'm kind of disagreeing with that. I don't know if the future of Star Wars should remain in Disney Plus shows. Obviously, I'm not opposed to it, but obviously the payoff isn't worth it. But it's the same thing with the books. Sometimes a book comes out that's fantastic. Another time a book comes out that falls flat. In this case, The Mandalorian was a book that was great. It has chapters. I mean, hey, the Book of Boba Fett, it was another book that was released. It was okay. It happens. Not everything. Not everything's going to be perfect.
In comparison, I'm on the last book of the original War of the Bounty Hunters, the Legends one.
Oh, and the trilogy?
Right, the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
For a story that is more well constructed and thought out, I still don't care for it. It's then you have that episode. I just don't care for it. It's boring. It's why am I? Yes, it has a Dangar in there. Yes, it has Zuckuss and all these guys. But
yeah.
What are you doing with all these moving pieces? okay, whatever. Sometimes even structure doesn't save it.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes
Comment in the chat. Would you say the Book of Boba Fett is Crystal Star level? Nothing will reach that level but the Crystal Star and the Crystal
What's
Star
the
alone.
thing with the Crystal Star? I don't get it, man. To this day, I'm trying to genuinely understand what's up with the Crystal Star.
Have you read it? I'll start there.
Yes,
Okay.
years ago, granted.
Fair enough.
Okay.
It just makes no sense. You got quick tangent. We'll transfer. I promise. You know,
Sorry,
Crystal,
Josh. Sorry,
the-
Josh.
the
I don't care.
So the Crystal Star was the first Star Wars novel in the Legends timeline, so the original EU, that was written by a Star Trek author. That's not a bad thing. There were a lot of changes that were done in this that would just seemed random. For starters, C-3PO was purple. There was no explanation for it.
I love it.
It literally starts the way every Legends novel starts. Leia is on a diplomatic mission. Her kids are there. They're young at this point. So all Luke or Leia's there with Jaina, Jason, and young Anakin. Anakin's an infant. On this planet, her kids get kidnapped, and they're left with a ransom. And the people on this planet are like, "Oh, this." I'm back. This is just a thing that we do. You know, sometimes kidnappings happen. Just pay your ransom. It's a traditional thing.
think I know where
Like,
you're going
what
with
are you going on about? My kids have been kidnapped. Meanwhile, Luke and Han go to this place to look at like this thing called the Great Waru, who was just a golden blob. He had no form. All right, and this was like a Heaven's Gate type thing. It was a religion based on the Great Waru that could heal people. And like they go inside of him and have this fight, and he was like some extra dimensional being. It's weird. They get to this space station, and the first thing Han does is open a line of credit.
One sentence,
for
Josh.
no point.
Before we move on, Jimmy, I think I know what played into me enjoying a lot of these books. I mentioned in a lot of my Legends book reviews that I started reading them when I just came into the country, and not only my English level wasn't up there, and I'm not making excuses here. I still love the book to pieces. There's a lot of benefit when you don't know these either Star Wars or Star Trek tropes. And these ideas of that are being recycled, you don't know. You're just looking within the context, within the frame of one book. To me, I just gobbled it all up, dude. I was like, "Oh, Children of the Jedi, Crystal Star, more."
Well, and that's the thing, you know, like
ignorance is bliss sometimes. But I think what if the book didn't have the quality of its own to have that enough gravitas, even then I probably would have responded negatively. So there must have been something in there.
I mean, that's fair, because like the whole time with Jaina, Jason, and Anakin, you know, they're children and they're being trained by the guy that kidnapped them. He's like, "You're going to be Dark Jedi acolytes, and they escape the compound by flying off on a dragon."
That's these books.
Yeah, and the whole
sorry, Josh. We had to
distract
a little
Hey, that's okay. You know, I think this kind of sums it up well by Gia Fett. He says, "Sounds like an acid trip," and that's why Ben liked it so. That's why Ben liked it so much. When he came over to the States, he started dropping acid. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Star Wars content, you know. Jimmy, you kind of segued.
Speaking of acid,
yeah. Speaking of acid, Jimmy, you kind of segued us in here perfectly to the next future of Star Wars. The Kenobi show comes out May 25th. Yes. I want to point out to everyone who was here last week, I went on a long theory tangent about how it was going to come out in May based on some guy's tweets, and I was right. I can't take credit for the theory. I just was repeating what I read. So May 25th did surprise me though. I thought it'd for sure be May the 4th, right?
I have reasons why it's not. Continue though.
Yeah, yes, I'll let you. I know one of the reasons. I have
it's not what.
Well.
Sorry, guys.
Well, tell them, Jimmy. What's the reason?
It would conflict with another product that's coming out on.
No, I'm sorry, I got
before
confused. The reason why it's not.
Why it's May 25th?
Why it's not May 25th? Oh, why it is?
Why it's not May?
Why it's not May the 4th?
Oh, okay. Why it's not May the 4th? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
there's a couple reasons.
There's another Marvel property that is currently out, and there's an episode of that show that is dropping on May the 4th. They're not trying to overlap projects.
Right. What is the property?
Moon Knight.
I knew it. Yeah, Moon Knight. That's right.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. My brother's excited for that.
So they didn't want to overlap that, which I think is smart.
Well, there's some other cool things here. First of all, Kenobi is releasing on the 45th anniversary of A New Hope.
That too.
Nice.
So that's good timing. One other thing, Disney really likes to put shows at the end of a month so they get 2 months worth of your subscriptions. It's only gonna be 4 episodes, so they'll get a May and this is not a joke. Like shows do this. This is why they structure shows the way they do. So Book of Boba Fett, had to pay for December and January. I know it sounds crummy, but they 100% want you to have to spread your subscription over a 2-month period. It's just part of the game, and I don't blame them for it. It's a great idea. It's just end of a month means you get 2 months worth of subscription. Kenobi, to me, I have completely different expectations. We talked about the Book of Boba Fett. We talked about what worked, what didn't. At the end of the day, no one's really, I think, heartbroken that the Book of Boba Fett wasn't a 10 out of 10. I think we all feel fine. Like, I wish it was better. I have some things I think they could have done differently. I'll watch the second season, but Kenobi's a whole different ballgame. The expectations here are sky high, and I feel much better about the construction of this show. One vision, 4 episodes, really good structure. I have a high level of confidence this show is going to be great, which means I could be setting myself up for disappointment, but I don't think so. I'm very excited for this show. This poster to me really sets the tone. It looks like Anakin's blade in hand as we see an aging Kenobi in the sands of Tatooine. There's a certain what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say spirituality to the poster. There's a certain kind of vibe that I really dig with the lighting, the way they chose the dark clouds with the sun emerging, Tatooine.
Is that really Anakin's lightsaber in his hand?
Yeah, that's if you
good eye.
It's what
Nice.
it's what the Twitterverse has been saying. I mean, I haven't talked to the director.
The worm is missing. That's the only thing. Is spice.
It's Dune right here. It's Dune. Sandworm coming in the background. Really like the poster. Really excited for the show. I have much higher expectations. And if this show disappoints, the backlash will be huge. And I think this crew here, I probably speak for Jimmy and I especially, will be pretty heartbroken. More so than maybe even angry. We'll just be sad because this is an actor and a character who has not only connections to multiple generations of fans, but especially to prequel era fans. This character it's like a defining, pop culture icon hero of ours. And the actor that we love is returning to play the role. And Hayden Christensen's going to be there with him. And it's big. Stakes are high here.
I think, I'd like to think all Star Wars fans across the board agree that, the prequels aren't great. But I think this one thing we can all agree on that is that Ewan McGregor as a young Obi-Wan was the saving grace of that trilogy and is the one thing that everyone can go, yes, he was great as Obi-Wan. At least I'd really like to think so because I thought he was phenomenal.
Dead on. No one has problems with his performance. I think
him, Hayden Christensen, Liam Neeson, Ian McDiarmid, they all were awesome. I think that's one thing I never criticized and I never understood. And I was one of the few who swam against the current and defended Anakin and Padme's relationship in Attack of the Clones.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
I enjoyed the dialogues. I enjoyed that corniness, that discomfort that all teenagers go through. Dude, try to go and hit on a girl when you're 14 or 16 or even 19.
Yes.
Right? And George Lucas is saying, like, look, has always been part of the shtick. I've been inspired by stuff that came before. And there's that very lyrical Shakespearean, like the way they talk each other. They don't even know how to address each other, dude. I never understood it. I'm so excited that Hayden Christensen is going to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to wait for my turn to speak.
One other thing. I have a couple of details about the show. I don't know if you wanted those to come before. We've got a couple of initial reports. These are just from, conversations and interviews that will be done on the side. No major nuggets, but reliable sources. Okay. So they talk about, I don't want to spoil these things for fans. So I'm actually going to hold off. I will make a note that this is not a spoiler. This has been confirmed. Inquisitors are making appearances in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, yeah.
And the initial reports is that I guess they're taking a very serious tone with them. Like they're very brutal. They are kind of aggressive and frightening is the vibe they're going for more than any sort of kind of comical or they're just brutes. So that was kind of an exciting first indication that we've got. I mean, we'll see how they're executed, but I at least like that's kind of tone they're going for with those characters. So we'll take it there. Ben, open about Kenobi. What does the show mean?
First of all, there's a lot of sand in that poster. I don't quite understand the direction with that, the art direction of this poster. I understand it sets up the mood. I would have picked something different. It's sort of like it's playing on fan expectations. Like, hey, if you get to pick out the detail, which fans obviously have with that little Pac-Man Tatooine sun in the background, right? The people are making memes about it. But I just felt that it's like it needed to give us a little bit more because the trailer is not here. A lot of people are like, hey man, where's the trailer? Once again, I'm coming from a place where I know who is behind it, and it's folks involved with the.
This comment. That was pretty awkward at 14, but Anakin made me look like a bitch.
Oof, nice.
That's tough.
That's a nice
that's
flex
funny.
there. Yeah,
That's funny. I like
poor Annie. He had the wrong mentor.
That's so funny.
With the book with the showrunners behind this show, which they're being transported over from the Mandalorian. I said in my videos that I will be critiquing the show on an entirely different level. So, but at the same time, I don't want to say that I have particular expectations. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't even know if I have any particular excitement for it because I don't want to be disappointed with this because Obi-Wan Kenobi is so important for me. My name is Ben. Just a friendly reminder to you guys, okay? If there's one Jedi Master in this room, it's me. I have, and again, I don't mean to sound negative. I don't mean to say that the show is going to be anything bad. I want it to be the greatest Star Wars piece of media ever produced, but I have zero confidence in it. I don't know where it's going to have. It's a wild card for me. With the second season of The Bad Batch, I think when you have a second season of a show that's already established its reputation, it has like that, you know what it's going to be about. Like it has a resume to show. It's a different story. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, season 2, we're in there, we're on board. I was nervous too for the first season of that, but I don't know why. Good. But for some reason, Dave Filoni being announced as the showrunner of The Bad Batch, I don't know why, guys. I just had that level of comfort. Knowing Rebels, knowing the Clone Wars show, which to me represent the greatest Star Wars storytelling since the Return of the Jedi, I just had that confidence. I had that, no matter what the fans say, no matter what the trailer shows, I know I'm going to be in it.
And he's at home in animation.
Right, exactly. Here, I'm like, I don't know. Like my pulse, I'm not giddy. I'm not like, ooh, Kenobi. I'm like, let's wait and see. If this show pulls out something with the first episode and just like, hey, Ben, you weren't expecting this, were you? And just, to me, to be at the highest peak level of excitement for Star Wars, it needs to touch me here. It's not the lightsabers. It's not the crazy, Inquisitors running around. There's something in there that I don't anticipate for or even account for to be possible within this character that they do. And I'm like, holy crap. Like kind of Visions did. The Ninth Jedi, I'm like, what is this stuff? It makes Star Wars feel fresh again. It makes Star Wars feel new again. That's what I want from Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't want any cameos. I don't want any crutch reliance of familiar tropes or it's like poetry, rhymes, just like familiar nods cinematically to previous stuff. I don't want any of that nonsense. I want the show to have an integrity of its own, built up from the ground up. It's like watching the Westworld. I know, Josh, you disagree with me. There's something that aesthetically or otherwise doesn't connect with you. To me, it's the pinnacle of television filmmaking.
Westworld? I like Westworld. I like Westworld.
No, but I thought you said like it's. I think it's a little bit like overhyped. I enjoyed the show, but it's not up there.
No, I love Westworld. It's really great.
Okay.
Oh, it's great.
Maybe we were joking. I just didn't.
No, I could have been joking, but I love Westworld. I love Westworld. It's great.
To me, it just like the Breaking Bad, where nobody can dispute. It's the pinnacle of television shows. It's not like Mandalorian episode 5 good. It's not like this episode. It's the entire freaking show. And that's what I think this show needs to be.
Before I pass it over to Jimmy, I'll maybe frame it like this. The episode, the show has just a tall order. It has a real reputation to me. I think that's the best way to put it. It has a heart. And so when you say, it might sound like what Ben said, I'm not excited. It sounds like he's just like, oh, I don't care about it. It's like, no, it's like, this is such a hard challenge to meet. This is an iconic character, a legendary actor, legendary performance, and you have to try to be good. It's hard. It's way easier to come out as like the Guardians of the Galaxy, who have no expectations and just give us something great. It's very hard to have to try to tell a great story for one of the most loved characters in all of pop culture. Jimmy?
Okay, I got a lot. First, I want to start with this poster specifically because when this poster came out, I saw it and instantly loved it. because all the wait up to this point has been filled with people making fan-made posters.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad you made that tweet earlier this week, Ben, when we're talking about the fan-made posters.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
a lot of times, those fan-made posters are made and you're like, wow, this should have been the poster they used.
right.
This gives me the vibe. This looks like a fan-made poster that I would say, why was this not the poster they used? So I'm absolutely loving it because this is exactly what it needs to be. It's Obi-Wan wandering through the desert. That's it. And I think it is perfect.
Yeah.
And like to what Ben said about it's like I have expectations for the show. I have expectations that the show needs to be amazing. That's it. I don't know what to expect. I never read the Legends Kenobi book by John Jackson Miller. I know some of what it's about, but I don't even have that to base off of what this is going to be. And based on the concept art that we all discussed many weeks ago, it could literally be anything. I think the fact that the Inquisitors are in here is great. And I've already seen a lot of people complaining that the Inquisitors are in this because they're like, well, there's no heightened stress to the show because we know where both characters end up. And I get the point, but there's still just a lot of room for storytelling and a lot of what happens. Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to just be filled in that we don't know. And I think what's going to be great about this show is that this is going to give us the same thing that Rogue One did. You watch Rogue One and you instantly want to watch A New Hope. You're going to finish Revenge of the Sith and instantly go straight to Kenobi.
Jim, can I add a little bit to that?
Please.
I heard what you said, and I understand the thinking behind this. That it's like, hey, all of them are telling a larger picture. Not one single director, right? Filmmaker is on their own. They have to understand that they're building this larger world. I don't know why, but I felt when I was reading a lot of Legends books and even canon books like Lost Stars, it felt like Star Wars is at its peak when a writer is bold enough to take his particular story into completely uncharted waters, and then everybody else who starts working in that particular time frame, let's say 6 years after Battle of Yavin, they're like, hey, this was really great. Let's build more stories around it and grow that little mushroom. And then we plant a seed over here 20 years before with this crazy powerful story, and other authors are going to start, and you start building these Star Wars microcosms. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, I don't feel that structure where the filmmaker or writer has the pressure of like, hey, I need to, treat it almost like a Lego pieces, a piece of like jigsaw puzzle where I have to fill in something else. I think it would work better if they go like free reign, like like they did with Kevin Scott and Charles Soule with the High Republic. That's why I think they work so effectively, where they say, roll with it, be as bold as you want, go as far as you can.
We've talked about that a lot in this channel. I know we're all aligned. We'd love to see more new Star Wars. Not like new Star Wars, but new eras of Star Wars. I think we've heard
please and thank you.
Yeah. So that kind of speaks to that. I would say here, what I'd really like from the show, and we can't, I don't want to spend too much time speculating on this. I have a couple of other news bits. We can't really speculate any more than we already have. All we have is the confirmed date, and we know it's a mini series. It's not getting a second season. It's a mini. This is it. This is the one little story. I want this show to be heartbreaking. I want this to be a very sad show.
Yeah.
I want them to be bold enough to do that. I want to see, and there'll be a glimmer of hope at the end, of course, because we know the conclusion of this character, and that's okay if they end it with the kind of hope for the future. But I want this to be Kenobi's struggles. I want this to be the trials of Kenobi. Like, this is what happened, and this is what makes his end, where he sacrifices himself in A New Hope, so satisfying.
So you want that duel?
I'm fine with a duel with Vader. If they just got to convince, it's just got to be done well. I don't know what to say better than that. So I'm almost down for anything if it's done well. But seriously,
no, I want this show to be so sad. I want this to be like, I want to finish this show or finish an episode and be like, I need to go watch like Care Bears or something to make myself feel better. I want that
room of just crying.
Yeah, I want him waking up in the middle of the night from nightmares of what happened. I want him just having like mental breakdowns. I want Liam Neeson to come back. I want him to have conversations with him, and because like obviously he's been such a well built and like sophisticated character, but I want to see he's past his breaking point. Like he lost everything. I want to see how it affects him.
Yeah.
And how he let that trauma build him into the Ben Kenobi we see in A New Hope. Yes, it needs to be sad and break down, but I want to see how he gets over it. What helps him.
It's something that the book promised and never delivered, Kenobi, and that was my biggest gripe with it, where they advertised basically this, but in the format of a book, and I was so excited for it. And guys, for me, this is almost a deja vu. That's why I can't, I don't want to be emotionally attached before it comes out.
Yeah,
I want to go in like completely blind.
I understand.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of good points. I think overall, we're all on the same page. It's got to be, we want so badly for this to be great. I don't think man, we're going to get Clone Wars flashbacks. I just know it. We're going to see that armor for the first time.
Let's do it.
I think we're going to get the whole live action shots we never got. And I think I'd love to see more. I don't know. It's going to be special to see them on screen together if it happens. For fans like me who grew up on the prequels, I can't help but be excited. And some kind of related news, Ahsoka starts filming in April.
Oh.
I'm looking for that news snippet. But Ahsoka starts filming. Ahsoka to me is a real wild card, and we don't need to spend too much time here. But with Ahsoka, I don't really know. I understand the show is going to be Thrawn, Ezra kind of centered. I actually think this show might have the most freedom to tell a really good story, as I don't believe it's as hampered by other Star Wars connections than others. I know it sounds silly because I just named 3 characters.
That's a good way of using it. Yeah, hampered.
I don't think it'll be hampered by that. I think it'll have a lot more freedom to tell because, of course, we know Ezra and Ahsoka and Thrawn, but I think the story has some interesting places it could go. I think Ahsoka's probably near the top of my list because I think it's an open frontier for them in a lot of ways. They could do a lot of cool things here. And I'm really excited to see that. So it starts filming in April, expected release next year. Mando season 3 expected to come. I believe it's confirmed now in December. So we get Mando season 3 in December. Kenobi here shortly. Bad Batch season 2 later this year. And I'm hoping Tales of the Jedi as well. Book of Boba Fett might have started the year off a little bit slow. But we have some heavy hitters. And let's be honest here. If Kenobi's 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 good, Book of Boba Fett being kind of slow and overall disjointed will be an afterthought. We'll all say, nah, it had some good moments, we liked it, but who really cares? It was just popcorn. They gave us Kenobi 3 months later, and it just absolutely, redefined what Disney Plus can do on the show. So there's a lot, there's it could do big things. High reward.
And I truly hope that all 4 episodes are directed by Deborah Chow.
Yes, I believe they are. And I hope they are too. You're right.
Remind me which episodes she directed?
She did episode 3 of The Mandalorian season 1. And which was that was the one where he fought all the Mandalorians on his way out of the town after he got Grogu back.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other ones she did, but of that, after that episode, they were like, yeah, she's also directing Kenobi, and everyone was like, what?
I really like that it's one cohesive voice more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. I don't even care if I liked her. For example, I think I liked Robert Rodriguez's episode of The Mandalorian, and I didn't love the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
so I don't care exactly. So I don't care what they've done before as much as I'm excited that okay, this director has the opportunity to be kind of uninterrupted in their connection. It's only 4 episodes. Like, let's get the cohesive vision. So that's why I'm pretty excited for it. I would say.
Yeah.
Keep it consistent. I think it's amazing. We talked about this in past episodes. It's amazing how much the difference makes with one cohesive voice. She did episode 7, The Reckoning, and chapter 3, The Sin, for Mandalorian season 1.
And I mean,
she did Better Call Saul as well. Some episodes there.
Oh, sick.
Okay.
So
love that show.
She also did an episode of Jessica Jones. So she's done a lot of TV. She does a lot of like one episode, an episode of Mr. Robot. So she's had a lot of exposure and some good shows there. So, I never put too much stock in TV directors past because so much is structured by the show you're given to put an episode on. If you direct an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's a lot different than an episode of Game of Thrones. Like it's different budgets, different things, so different writers.
This is a project we've been wanting for so long, and I've seen because I remember I found that tweet about how it was only going to be 4 episodes, and I was like, how did I miss this? Because I
feel
thought
like I did too.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be 6, and everyone's like, oh, why is it only 4? This should be X amount. I'm like, you guys got to stop. Be thankful you're getting it at all.
Quality over quantity.
And even then, if it's 4 episodes, if it's 6 episodes, you're going to get more out of 4 episodes than you will with one movie.
I would be
Now-
down for 4 1-hour episodes would be ideal, I think.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I
I
think so,
truly
too.
am, but I'm not going to hold my breath because I will not be surprised if on May 25th I open it and it says 39 minutes, and I'll be like, okay.
I just really want it to be. Don't bloat it. Don't bloat
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah,
Just
like
give
if it's not going to be an hour an episode, don't tell us that, because that's what they said with the season 1 of The Mandalorian. They're like,
Yeah.
each episode's an hour. No, it's not. There's one that's like 23 minutes.
He's going to commune with Qui-Gon's ghost for the first 40 minutes of the first episode.
I'm
Great.
Sitting in the desert.
I will love every second of it.
To something that Ben's talked about a lot. Short projects can be fantastic as well.
Mhm.
So if the show is 50 minutes of amazing, it's better than 4 hours of average.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree there. So, who cares if it's only, 30 minutes? I mean, if it's 4 30-minute episodes, my initial reaction will be disappointment. But again, if the quality's great, I'll say, hey man, that hour and a half I wish it was longer.
Vision's
was
got
that good?
so much more mileage out of 18 minutes out of some of their episodes. Like,
Oh man. We got to, as we're wrapping the night up, I just got to say, Visions has kind of been forgotten in the shuffle a little bit. I want to remember for the viewers here how good Visions was, how special some of those shorts were, and just tip our cap to the whole creative team there. Just some phenomenal stuff. Man, it blows my mind how much those little 15, 20-minute shorts have really stuck with me, since September. And how there are episodes here with bigger budgets and bigger casts and lovable crew and all that, that don't reach the heights of a 15-minute animated short. So hat tip to the creators, hat tip to Lucasfilm for giving some talented artists like a place to do it. It's dope. It's a great thing for Star Wars fans. I love that. We got to see it. So, and that's not a slight at Book of Boba Fett. It just is a testament to how good those shorts were, right? If a director can do 15 minutes of just amazing on a budget that's probably half, if not more, like.
And that's something that has me really curious for Andor. We've got nothing on Andor, and it's supposed to be 3 seasons long. So I'm guessing it's great.
Yeah. Ah, man, do you think we're ever gonna get more Visions, or do you think that's like maybe it's a bi-yearly thing?
I definitely think we're getting more Visions.
You think?
I mean, you got to think that box that they got that had the Tales of the Jedi thing on it. It had Visions and Bad Batch on there, and Willow.
Unless it's fake.
Yeah.
No,
Don't think it's
always
fake.
could be fake.
Don't think.
Tale of the
it's fake.
Jedi's, boys. Let's get it.
Give me Ulick Kildroma, please.
To wrap up, some of the thoughts of the different strands. It's been a very Disney Plus focused episode because, like Jimmy alluded to, it does feel like it is the future of Star Wars. At least that's how Disney is positioning it.
Yeah.
And let's, I let off with some gripes about Book of Boba Fett, but I want to repeat what I've said many times. Like Clone Wars Season 7, Rebels, Visions, Bad Batch, like there's just been some really great stuff on the Disney Plus platform.
The Last Jedi.
There's been some really great stuff on the Disney Plus platform that that we've been able to consume and enjoy. And so even though Book of Boba Fett, I think had some missed opportunities. I think it could have been better. Some good moments, some average moments.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Republic.
Don't forget, like there's still great stuff happening, and there's look. I'll rewatch episode 5 of this show many times. Jimmy's already starting his rewatch. There's fun to be had here. I wish it was better in a lot of areas, but overall, hey, on to the next one. I still love I still love a lot of the other projects. Doesn't change my opinion anyway. It's what I hate. I kind of hate the very hyperbolic. We talked about this a little bit before the show started. New Lord of the Rings is coming out, and a lot of fans are concerned because they hold those properties in such high regard. But I told Ben, I said, it's high risk, low reward. It's a high risk, switch that, high reward, low risk to me. If the show comes out and it's garbage, I just won't watch it, and I'll enjoy the 3 amazing movies we already have. They don't have to impact that. And I feel that way about Star Wars. If Book of Boba Fett comes out and it's not your favorite, okay, I'm rewatching Rebels right now. I'm gonna have a great time doing it.
Yeah, I watch Rebels all the time. Like I put that on in the background when I go to bed because I love that show so much. And yeah, the Lord of the Rings thing is a big deal. Like Gail texted me literally during the stream. She said, "Hey, some pictures came out." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "It looks a little questionable." I was like, "Oh, great." But yeah, if I don't like it, oh well, I'll just go back to something else.
And it's okay to say you don't like it. I want to make that clear too. I'm not trying to say conceal, don't feel. Of course, you can say, "Hey, I don't like it. It disappointed
Is that
me."
a new phrase?
But it didn't. But it didn't ruin it. It doesn't ruin everything that came before.
And I think that that's extremely important to get across because we're always very positive, and this is an episode of the show where we're not very positive, because we had some valid criticism. I don't want to speak for Ben. I know he's going to chastise anyone who attacks Legends, but
not really, dude. I chastise Legends a lot. I'm not a purist.
No,
I
was saying,
sense of the word.
I wanted to say, I agree. It's okay to not like something, and if you want to come here and say you don't like something, perfectly fine. We're not going to attack you for it, and hopefully, no one in our community is going to attack you for it. It's okay to dislike things. The problem is when you take it as your entire personality and start attacking people. You don't want to get to that point.
Some comments I read on Twitter where some of the Twitterers went to that Vanity Fair, or who was it? The magazine that published that article on Lord of the Rings. And they were saying, look, I'm not excited. I don't want to see it because it's not in with the lore and it's automatically being misrepresented. Like ultra, I hate this polarizing conversation about left, right, from here, it's just stupid to me. Stupidity. We all come from the same place. But just because somebody's voicing negative commentary, but hey, it's not being toxic. It's just saying I don't like this because it doesn't follow that. They're automatically being labeled like, oh, you're just ignorant. You listen to that. Like people don't have opinions anymore.
Yeah, there's a balance. There's definitely a balance. Yeah,
you got to balance it out. Yeah,
you got to balance.
Yeah, and there's people on both sides that do that. Like you said, it's like I don't like this because it doesn't follow the lore. Then you got the person going, well, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, well now you're the one attacking.
You go off the tangent.
Yeah, just. These are things where it's okay to agree to disagree.
And we can,
because at the end of the day, it's make believe, guys. Come on.
And we can all get intense in our opinions and get emotional and then comment back down. I think the key is, first of all, perspective. I mean, Star Wars has given us so many. I mean, we're sitting here with about 15, 16 people right now, just talking about Star Wars, having fun with friends. Two guys that I met from doing the Star Wars thing, countless fans in here whose usernames I recognize, who leave comments, who interact from all over the world, all over the country. And that's phenomenal. And so sometimes, there was an episode of a show I thought was kind of boring and it could have been better. And I'm going to tell you that. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to tell you that. And at the end of the day, hey, you know what? Season 2 comes out. I'm going to be watching it and smiling and laugh with my friends, staying up till 2 a.m. And I'll be on here talking to you guys about it. At the end of the day, we can nitpick, we can get, because we love it. We're passionate, When I watch my favorite
Pablo Hidalgo or what Kathleen Kennedy said, focus on what you liked. Focus on the next book, on the next comic, on the next thing that you enjoy,
And when I watch my favorite sports team, I get emotional. But you calm down, hey, what, this is how it is, right? Sometimes you get emotional, you get worked up, but we calm it back down. We say, okay, let's move on. Here are my complaints. It's okay to voice those complaints because how could anyone? Because as someone I struggle with this on the channel. As someone who's a very positive voice, anytime I'm negative, I feel like, oh shoot, I don't want people. How can you take me seriously if I say everything is good? That's a lie. And not everything is good. Guys, you see this shirt right here, the Batman? Okay. I love the Batman. Not every Batman movie is great. And not every Batman comic is great. I love the character, right? I've already bought 2 tickets to see this movie on 2 different days. I don't know if it's any good, right? I'm going to go.
The ones are the best ones though, right?
What's up?
Joe Schumacher's are the best.
Oh yeah, they're the best.
Oh yeah, Joel Schumacher made the best Batman films. Are you kidding me?
One thing I want to say, Nick, asking about the future of the stream every Thursday, man. I'm going to keep on going. Of course, sometimes we get sick or sometimes we have work things come up, but we will be here even when the show is done. We have rebranded for those who came late. This is now called the Gabbing Gonks Show. It's episode 1. It's going to be on Thursday nights. We're gonna hope to transfer and transition into an audio available format as well. We're gonna play around with that a little bit, but want to give a lot of credit to Ben. He designed our little gonks that you see on the thumbnail. Give Ben some likes in the chat.
You guys came up with a name that was really fun. The whole name picking was pretty fun and exciting.
We had a good time. I love the thumbnail, man. I'm looking at it now.
Oh, it's so good.
You did a great job.
I'm
not there yet. I was picky, guys. I was slowing down on this. I was like over designing it. I know it's a thumbnail. It's supposed to be simple and effective. I'm like taking chunks out just up until today, man. And it still doesn't look right to me.
I think you did a great job. And I want to say this as we wrapping up here. I mean, we're into 2022. It's crazy how many fans have come out and supported the show and supported all the various channels. It's really cool. And, to end this kind of negative, I say negative loosely. I mean, listen to us. We act like we're saying anything negative. You know, we're having some complaints. But to wrap up this maybe not triumphant day in Star Wars, just another average day. I'm still loving doing this. I'm loving hanging out with these guys. I'm loving talking to people in chat, and I'm excited to keep doing it. And I don't care what comes out next. I don't care if it's good or bad. I'm going to keep doing this with you guys and talking about it and having a good time. So I hope everyone feels the same way.
Definitely. I'm curious. Scott's comment in the chat. Are you guys streaming for tomorrow's live stream?
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
What is going on?
High Republic
it's coming
episode
out
tomorrow. Tomorrow. I will probably not be able to stream it, but I will record a reaction. Jimmy and I will talk after this episode to see if we can get on there together. Ben, you're more than welcome if we can all sync up our schedules. We typically recorded a reaction to the episode and put it on the channel. I'm going to do it again. Don't you guys worry. I just don't know if it'll be live or not. I will let you guys know because they typically come out when I'm at work and it's hard for me to do that.
I have a little interview coming up tomorrow. Greg Hildebrandt is hopefully joining me again.
Oh, okay.
Like, he said yes again. Oh my God. I'm like nerding out. I love his art, man. Can't wait.
Guys, thanks for stopping by. It was a great week. It's so crazy to me that, you know, it's only February. It's flying by at this, but it's only February. I feel like we've had like years worth of content and it's only the second month. It's going really quick, but it's so much at the same time. It's wild.
Yeah.
Excited for more, excited for the channel. Thanks everyone for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Any closing thoughts, Ben, Jimmy, as we close out here?
Just be reminded as you anticipate for the Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is the master here. Old Ben. I haven't heard that name in a long, long time. I don't have any closing thoughts, guys.
I mean, I like to call myself a master with the amount of Star Wars knowledge I managed to shove into my brain, so much so that it pushes everything else out.
There we go.
But I'm sure, you know, Ben has been a Star Wars fan probably double the amount of time that I have. I've got 22 years under my belt. I'm sure he's got more than that.
Dude, shift gears. Talk about Lord of the Rings. Let's get hyped for that too, man. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll talk.
We're starting our Lord of the Rings channel. Confirmed.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
But it's like either way, you know, I love doing the show every week. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. Now we can find a way to stop my camera from freezing every time I try to talk. Really, I'm excited to see what kind of shows we end up coming out with next. Now knowing that we're going to have a little bit of time before our next show comes out, so we can move away from the reviews and start getting into a lot more news drops and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's
exciting going forward because it feels more relaxed now.
And we're going to do some themed episodes, like tier list kind of episodes, ranking the movies, ranking the shows,
yes,
kind of stuff, ranking the books. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. Get chat interactive. So thank you guys for stopping by. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see everyone again very soon. Have a great rest of your week. Nice weekend. See you guys later.
All right, guys.